Hello and welcome to the Squared Circle Psychobabble. My name is Michael Valenti. This is Ralph Valenti, and tonight we're going over the WWE Raw ratings again. Again, making news in the world of professional wrestling because they've hit an all-time low for the fourth time this year. And I'll admit, I thought it was a better show than what we saw last week, but still, the ratings are dropping. Is WWE concerned about these ratings? Ralph says yes. I say no. We talked about this on a previous episode, Ralph. And if you want to watch that episode or listen to that episode, the link is going to be in the description. I keep telling you, Ralph, the TV trends will tell you that the ratings don't matter in today's television. They're not the way they were back in 1999 when WWE were getting nines, and back in 1994 or 1995 when WCW was winning the ratings war. It's a totally different situation. I mean, let's look at it from that night. Monday, December 3rd. The top 5 ratings on that night for people of 18 to 49, which is most people think is the target demographic, or at least that's the one that people look at. In 5th was Love and Hip Hop on VH1 at 8 o'clock. Got an 0.84. WWE got a 0.85 on the 9 o'clock hour. Sports Center at 12 midnight was 1.21. Monday Night Kickoff, 1.46. And the Monday Night Football game was 3.62. That was the top rated show, 3.62.
Right.
So that should tell you right there what the trends of television are. They're all dropping.
Now, you're under the impression that the decline in ratings across the board is because people are cutting the cord and they're just not getting measured
It's a bunch of things. It's the cord cutting. It's the fact that you could watch it on Hulu
right,
or
and that's
YouTube.
not necessarily counted towards the actual ratings you're
Right.
talking about. Right.
Right. So, and the other thing too, when you see the ratings, they split Raw as 3 separate shows.
Mm-hmm.
So like the 8 o'clock hour has its rating, the 9 o'clock hour has its rating, and the 10 o'clock hour has its rating. The one that ranked 4th here was the 9 o'clock hour, which to me was the best of the 3 hours anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And it took a huge jump.
Yep. It went from 2.26 million viewers to 2.40 million viewers
Right.
in the second hour.
So the other thing you got to take into account here is the Monday night game was the Washington Redskins versus the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, Philadelphia is a huge wrestling market. And when you have 70,000 people at a football game, sure, not all of them are wrestling fans, but a lot of them are. So there's a big chunk of your viewing audience there that are either watching or at the Philadelphia Eagles game. And Washington is another big market. And look, they were watching the game too.
I mean, I don't necessarily buy that having the Eagles on Monday Night Football, the attendance alone of who's there is going to have a huge impact on the ratings. So you talked about trends. I'm not denying that people cutting the cord and that the other options and the other ways where you can watch Monday Night Raw are certainly impacting the ratings. But what I would say is I think there's other things that you can kind of point to that suggest that it is something that they should be concerned about. So obviously everybody knows that this was the lowest rated Monday Night Raw in the modern era, right? So that's already been established.
But the funny thing is when you see the articles of the modern era, what exactly is the modern era? Is it post 2001 when the Attitude Era ended? Is it, when people started cutting the cord? Is it this year? What determines the modern era? I honestly don't know what that means.
If anybody knows the answer to that, please let us know, because I've tried to find it. What exactly do they consider the modern era of Monday Night Raw? But at the very least, we know that the ratings have been declining. Now, some of that, like you said, is due to, people cutting the cord, alternative ways for people to view. But I think a big part of this kind of points out some of the weaknesses of WWE, and I think that's why the ratings are also decreasing. So last week was, without question, one of the worst Monday Night Raws of all time. Would you agree? We're talking about the one 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, right.
There was a lot of ridicule about how bad it was, really bad segments, really bad booking, just nothing to really look at. Now, I think this week's was, it wasn't a great show, but I don't think it was bad. I think there was some bad segments. I think there was some really bad stuff throughout it. But it wasn't as bad as the week prior.
It was a step in the right direction, in my opinion. We did see some things take a back step when we saw, for example, Lucha House Party and the Revival again, which the only wrinkle that was different was that it was a 3-on-1 match instead of a 3-on-2 match.
Right.
Not that much of a difference.
Yep.
But I honestly believe, and I said this to you when we were talking about this before recording the episode, that if you took away the first hour of this show wasn't that bad. I really liked the second hour. I really didn't have any problems with the second hour. And the third hour was decent. And I'll admit, I wasn't really invested in the main event, and I may have fallen asleep beforehand. But still, it's better than what we have been seeing in the past.
Well, I think the problem is fans are getting very restless with the WWE. And I say that, again, not because of just the Raw ratings, but there's other things you can kind of point to. Now, I'm talking about just Monday Night Raw and SmackDown, because I feel like it's just been the status quo for far too long, right? The very simple booking, not much storytelling, not really giving the fans what they want to see, not giving you anything to invest in, taking too much time to focus on the guys that they want to push rather than the people that the fans want to see pushed. And I really think that's starting to show itself in the ratings. And I think that's also a big part of this. So one of the reasons I say this is I think SmackDown has been very good for quite some time. Now, we know that Monday Night Raw did not have good ratings. SmackDown's ratings were also not very good.
No.
They were also down below 2 million.
But here's the thing, and this is kind of helps with my argument of it just being the TV trends, and WWE should not be concerned of their ratings really dropping, because it's not really a barometer of people saying that the product stinks. Because SmackDown the last 2 weeks have been really, really good.
Right.
But the ratings aren't showing for it. The YouTube views. The most viewed video on the YouTube channel for both Raw and SmackDown was the Ronda Rousey main event at 9 million views. Anything involving Becky Lynch on SmackDown was at like 250,000, which is still really good. I mean, I wish our show would get those kind of numbers here on the YouTube channel. But at the same time, you got almost 3 million people viewing that one segment on YouTube. And this can also further support my argument of, people, there's the drop off from hour 2 to hour 3. And quite frankly, there are a lot of people, it's just science, that tend to go to sleep around 10:30, 11 o'clock. So they're not watching Raw. They're going to bed because they have to go to work the next morning. So they watch the Ronda Rousey segment because they didn't see it. So they want to see what the main event was. Now, we can't further go into the analytics of that particular segment to see how many people are actually viewing it in its entirety or how long they're watching the segment. We just know that almost 3 million people clicked on the thumbnail and watched the video. So that kind of has to tell you that people are willing to go, you know what? I'm watching the Monday night game. I don't need to watch Raw. I could just watch it on YouTube. I have Hulu. I could just watch the rear, which is cut down. They don't put all 3 hours on Hulu. I think it's 2 hours, maybe 2.5. They don't put every segment on there. So there are going to be things that are missed. And there are going to be things that aren't watched live. And live TV is so different now with the way social media is. People are live tweeting. People are putting up YouTube videos with reviews. You got Wrestle Talk, What Culture, Cultaholic that have reviews up almost by midnight.
Mm-hmm.
You have podcasts that review it. You got JD from NY that goes on his 1 hour rant about how Raw sucks. That's up by like 4 a.m.
Yep.
So you can ingest what's happening on Raw without even watching the show.
Okay.
And that's part of the trend too.
Right. But I think the other thing that should be concerning is there's certainly a lack of star power. And I think that's why people aren't watching.
That is true.
You know,
I mean,
you've got Cena. Cena's not there. You know, he's part-time or just not there altogether.
I would like to see when John Cena comes back in January. I mean, he's going to be on house shows after Christmas, and he is going to be on Raw in January, probably going to be a part of the Royal Rumble. I'd like to see how big of a jump the ratings are with him there.
Aside from, okay, we're talking post-Attitude Era guys. Do you not agree that he's the biggest guy?
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
Okay.
Without a doubt.
So that's established. He is the biggest draw amongst, you know, kids, whatever people want to say. He can have a good match when he's in there. When it's on the line, he continuously steps up. He's a great promo.
Yep.
They don't have somebody like that right now. They also don't have Strowman due to injury. They also don't have Roman Reigns. And this goes back to my original point. They take too much time. They spend too much time investing in the guys that they want to push, and not enough time developing guys that have come up from NXT or, you know, have been with the company. They never focused. For quite some time, they haven't focused on their mid card, and now you see those guys that are in the mid card or even, you know, below mid card level who are now having to elevate their game because those guys aren't there and they can't do it. And it's not that they can't do it because of lack of talent for some of them. It's because WWE has continuously put them in positions to feel, to have the fans feel like these people aren't important. So why would you care about them?
I want to bring up a point, though. You talk about Cena and his draw power, and Stone Cold Steve Austin when he was there, The Rock when he was there. These are the guys. These are the guys that people talk about as the guy at their time. Hulk Hogan, Austin. They were all, if you were to class them by weight, they're all heavyweights.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? WWE right now, especially on Raw, does not have a heavyweight on consistently. Yes, Braun Strowman is a heavyweight, but he's not on right now. That also, I believe, takes an effect in the ratings and how people watch the show, because you look at boxing, for example. Boxing hasn't been relevant in outside of Floyd Mayweather, which even if you want to say he's really relevant for boxing, since the late 90s. And that was when Lennox Lewis was there. And when it was Mike Tyson and Holyfield, you had heavyweights. You had a real heavyweight division in boxing. Raw doesn't have that. They're putting their money on guys like a Seth Rollins, a Finn Balor, a Baron Corbin, AJ Styles. These aren't really heavyweights, you know. Well, so I think in that regard, I think that is also taken into effect to a casual sports fan that would have watched wrestling in the 90s and the early 2000s. They're not seeing those giants, those heavyweights that people say Vince loves and books strong. There's a reason for it. That's where the market is and has always been in sports. You watch football. Would you rather see a guy like Saquon Barkley, who's 230 pounds, running all over everybody, or a guy like Steven Gostkowski, who's the kicker, running all over everybody? You'd rather see Saquon Barkley.
Well, I see. The one point I would disagree with about that is just because they're big doesn't mean they're going to be successful, because Great Khali is god awful. Show hasn't been relevant in years. What it comes down to is this is sports entertainment. This is more comparable to, yes, it's part sport, but it's also part theater. So it's up to the WWE to present people in a fashion where you're going to care. That comes down to the writing.
But at the same time, it's, if you're going to talk about theater and Hollywood and acting, that's on the wrestler himself to get over.
They can't get over if week after week you parade them out to the ring and make them look like geeks. Week after week, Seth Rollins and Finn Balor are made to look like absolute fools at the expense of nonsense like Baron Corbin, Bobby Lashley, like these guys, they're not relevant.
Right. I understand, and we went through that on our last Raw podcast that we did, where we were trying to fix Raw, try to make Raw great again. I understand that, and there definitely is some kind of disconnect with how they're booking the baby faces on Raw. But on SmackDown, it's totally different. You look at Becky Lynch, the way they were booking Becky Lynch was this heel. You know, she was supposed to be a jealous heel for Charlotte Flair, okay? And instead, she becomes the anti-hero. That's all because of how Becky Lynch presented herself and acted in front of the camera. And she does have an acting background. She is a trained actor. And that's what's missing with some of these guys. Like, you can give them bullet points. You could give them a script word by word. You can have Vince McMahon writing it, Eric Bischoff, Jim Cornette, Dave Meltzer, whoever wants to write the show. But at the same time, the person on screen has to deliver.
Yep.
You know, and on Raw, more times than not, the wrestler himself is not delivering.
I don't think that I don't buy that that's one of the reasons why the ratings are as bad as they are. I think the ratings are bad because it's just bad writing, bad booking, and you have nobody to actually invest in because they consistently present these guys in a way where nobody should care about them. That's how it's always been. That's why all these guys that have been called up from NXT have done nothing because they were so busy putting all their eggs in the Roman Reigns basket, telling you month after month, year after year, he's the guy. He's going to be the guy. He's the guy that's going to dethrone Lesnar. He dethroned Lesnar. Unfortunately, he is now sick. He's not there. But now Lesnar's got the belt, and look, he's not on Monday Night Raw again. So you've got all these things. You've got guys hurt. You've got guys that are in positions who are there supposed to be the top guys, and they nobody cares about them. You've got bad writing. You've got bad booking. You've got things like Lucha House Party. I mean, it's an endless list.
As much as fans like you and me who have been watching year in and year out, basically since we were kids, are angry at Lucha House Party and seeing, okay, why are they the baby faces in this story? It should be the revival. You watch Raw on that Monday in Houston. The crowd loved it. They were cheering everything up with Lucha House Party.
Here's the problem I have with Lucha House Party. Here's the problem I have with the Raw last week. Just about everybody in the wrestling community will agree that was one of the worst Raws ever. Maybe the worst of all time. And their way of kind of rebutting that coming in the week after was doubling down. You got Lucha House Party. You got Heath Slater and Rhino. Rhino hasn't been relevant since like 1995. Heath Slater hasn't been relevant since Brock Lesnar beat the shit out of him.
That was more for Rhino to be on screen and retire. That was more of like a retirement thing. And the whole Heath Slater thing, I think here's the other issue. I kind of have to give some credit to the fans themselves. I really do. When did it become so okay that the fans have to just quickly say, this sucks, that's not good, I can do it better?
Because they pay for the tickets and they pay for the pay-per-views and they pay for the subscriptions to WWE Network. And they're sick of having their intelligence insulted with crap that WWE's been putting on every week.
But at the same time, you look at social media and they go, oh, I could do it better. This is how I would do it. And yes, I'm kind of being hypocritical because I just did 3 episodes on how I would book WrestleMania based on the outcome of TLC. But I also, when I do my fantasy booking, I book it from a logical standpoint. There's some people that they want to take Andrade Cien Almas, who hasn't been on TV for 3 months, and make him the WWE champion on the next SmackDown without any sense whatsoever. There's people out there that go, oh, why are they they go on after Crown Jewel and say Braun Strowman's buried. Really?
I
he's
don't
the
think
top guy on Raw right now with Roman gone, and he's buried. This might have been after 2014 when Daniel Bryan didn't win the Royal Rumble, and then they put him at WrestleMania, so the fans were like, oh, we got what we wanted, so now we control everything. No, you don't.
But that's
You
not
don't
that
control
they
everything.
don't control everything, but they have a very Vince McMahon always says they're the ones that you have to convince. You have to convince them. They're the ones that pay for the tickets and everything else.
So let me ask you this. Why was Asuka put in the TLC match?
Probably because first of all, she should be in the match. Second of all, probably because the fans wanted it. I don't know.
So they're not listening to their fans, but they're listening to their fans. Why is Becky Lynch the most over person in WWE right now? Because they put her in spots to have her get over, even though she's not, even though she wasn't supposed to be, she got over, and they're keeping her on, and they're putting her in situations where the crowd will just eat her up regardless. The women's TLC match is going to main event that pay-per-view, and if it's not, then we can start saying they're not listening to their fans.
I'm not saying...
There are just so many times where people just say they're not listening to their fans. They're not listening to their fans. And don't get me wrong. There may be times where WWE have been at fault for it, but you can't go and say every single time they're not. Because more often than not, they are. That's why Daniel Bryan won at WrestleMania 30. That's why Asuka's put into the women's TLC match. That's why Braun Strowman is in the position he's in right now. They listen to their fans. I don't understand why people think that Vince McMahon has his ears closed and not listening to their fans, and everything's falling on deaf ears.
But the proof is in the numbers. That's why you see the things with the... First of all, the ratings should be a concern to them because, one, it was one bad week, and then the week following that, the ratings were even worse. And the show wasn't very much better. It wasn't the worst show, but it wasn't much better than the week prior. The writing's bad, the booking's bad, and like I said, their way of rebutting that and their way of coming back the next week and showing, you know what, we're capable of better was Heath Slater and Rhino, Lucha House Party.
But
boring
these guys
segment
have to get
after boring segment.
But here's the thing. People complain, how come this guy's not on TV? How come that one's not on TV? They put him on TV and they go, well, that was a stupid segment.
Well, you think people are upset about not seeing Heath Slater and Rhino? I don't.
Some people were in love with Heath Slater and Rhino when they were first together.
So. I don't think so.
Yes, they were.
I don't think so.
When they were first together on Smackdown and they won the Smackdown Tag Team Championships, of course they were.
I think all of WWE's previous issues are coming to light now, and they are going to really start to realize that if they can't turn it around, because you've got a lot of things going on outside the WWE with Cody Rhodes, the Elite, all those guys, right? You've got years and years worth of frustration with a lot of the booking, and I'm not saying the fans should always get what they want, because I don't agree with that. I don't. I think a lot of times that the fans are to quote Daniel Bryan, very fickle. And they don't get, a lot of times fans don't give enough time to let kind of some of these feuds and things play out to see how they actually turn out in the end. But at the end of the day, I think it's not just the ratings. It's the fact that there's guys that are out and that are hurt, which, you can't really avoid those things. Those things are going to happen. But that is why you have something called a creative team. And when I watch Monday Night Raw, I don't see anything that's creative. I just see the same status quo show, the same talking points, the same heel versus face, the same situations week after week, the same segments that fans just don't care about. Like, there's no effort being made, it seems like. And I don't think that's actually the case where they're just like, oh, well, we don't care. But it comes across as, well, we knew last week was terrible. We knew we got shit on for it, but we're going to double down on that. And we're going to give you all the same stuff, but maybe a little bit better. There was a few good things. I thought the thing with Dean Ambrose was good. I know a lot of people were kind of middle of the road with that. I thought it was different at the very least. They're trying something different.
I liked his promo. I did not like the gas mask thing.
See, I did like it. I thought it was different. I can't say I necessarily agree with the direction of the character, but it's different. And at least they're trying something different with him.
Right.
We'll see where he goes with that. But the other thing I want to point out, too, is something we talked about last week. Survivor Series. So more people watched or streamed NXT than they did Survivor Series. That, again, should be concerning when, if you're the WWE, you should look at that in combination with, well, our ratings are going down. Our top guys are out. More people want to see NXT than they want to see Survivor Series with our guy who is supposed to be our cash cow, Brock Lesnar, who's not there every week. That's another issue. I mean, there's all these things that I think now are going to finally come to a head where people are just going to say, you know what, I'm done. And those people, they're either going to stop watching wrestling altogether or they'll go watch something else if they decide to make All Elite Wrestling, which it seems like they certainly are right now. I think WWE might be in a lot more trouble than they actually think they are.
Well, in this point in time, I will say they will have to be concerned about what the ratings look like if there is going to be a competitive company. If a company, whether it's Impact or Ring of Honor or All Elite Wrestling or New Japan Pro Wrestling, if they beat them in the ratings at any point, that's when they're concerned. But they're nowhere close to that. No matter how great New Japan has been this past year, no matter how much better Impact Wrestling has gotten, how much better Ring of Honor has been gotten, and how they sold out Madison Square Garden, WWE still has much better ratings than them combined. It doesn't matter.
Right now.
Until it gets to a point where someone beats Raw in the ratings from a wrestling standpoint, it won't matter. They have monopolized the wrestling industry in America. Doesn't matter.
Well, I guess the last thing I would say is, despite everything you just said and despite everything I said, as far as the fans, this is where the fans really need to open their eyes and understand, like, having a guy like Cena and having a guy like Roman Reigns, this is where you need to sit back and say, maybe we were wrong about those guys. Because as bad as Raw is or has been the past couple of weeks, don't you think you might have wanted John Cena on that show? Don't you think Vince McMahon wishes he could have Roman Reigns or John Cena on that show right now to help him out?
Yeah.
Not only just for the ratings, but I mean, those were the top guys. Those were the guys that were probably main eventing the past however many WrestleManias and the Royal Rumbles and stuff like that. I'm not saying John Cena is the best of all time. I certainly don't think Roman Reigns is the best of all time. But I've said it time and time again. Those characters, because they were so polarizing, have a certain value to the show. You either really wanted to see them win or you really wanted to see them lose. And right now you just get a stale show week after week. And I promise you, most of the fans would probably really wish to have one of those guys back right now.
I want to say this too. When it comes to John Cena and Roman Reigns, though, you look at social media and you look at people talking about wrestling, and they quickly go, how do we get John Cena over? How do we get Roman Reigns over? I know, a heel turn. They need a heel turn. So you say that for Finn Balor. You say that for AJ Styles. You say that basically for anybody that isn't getting over. Let's turn them heel. So what does Vince do? He turns everybody heel. Everybody's a heel on Raw. He's listening to his fans. He goes, okay, this guy needs to turn heel. This guy needs to turn heel. This guy needs to turn heel. Oh, crap, I have no more baby faces.
Well, you got Dolph Ziggler, who suddenly decided that he was going to all of a sudden be a face again. And
well, you knew that was going to happen with the storyline with Ziggler and McIntyre.
Well, you did, but you almost had to assume it was going to happen. They never really told the story. Like, so Dolph now is a face because he didn't get invited out for the appreciation night. Like, that's it. That's what I'm talking about. Like, that was your big face turn.
He won the match.
Yeah, with the help of Finn Balor, which is fine. I have no
Which Finn
problem with
Balor
that.
looked strong on this past Raw. Something that they needed to do for him. He didn't just necessarily have to turn heel. They just need to have him book strong on a show. And he did. He looked really strong in this show. Not just the McIntyre segment, but he got involved with he helped Elias. And so, like, not everything has to be a heel turn. Yeah. This guy needs to be a heel turn. That one needs to be a heel.
I think
Asuka needs to turn heel. Asuka's in the main event of PLC. Did not have to turn heel, folks.
No.
Everybody has to turn heel.
I think one of the and we talked about this the other day, one of the quickest things that they can fix, one of the biggest issues that they could fix right away is the lack of the heavyweight champion showing up. You can have Brock Lesnar, however much you pay him, to come out for Monday Night Raw, defend the championship, and drop the title to Seth Rollins or whoever you see fit. But that's something that I feel like really needs to happen, because if he's not going to be there, if he's your cash cow and he's just kind of holding that title and he's going to show up, I don't even know when he's going to show up again. Royal Rumble? I don't know. So he's not going to defend the title until Royal Rumble? I mean, so why would you just said it? You know, the heavyweight championship is the guy that sells.
Here's the other thing too. Now I understand this is 2018, not 1985, but the WWE champion or WWF champion never defended until it was a pay-per-view. So at that time, you only had WrestleMania, and then just WrestleMania, and then Survivor Series. Then it was just WrestleMania, SummerSlam, and Survivor Series, and then you finally got Royal Rumble in there. So that's only 4 times he defend the title.
Right. I don't have a problem with him not defending until the big main events, and I don't. I'm sorry, big pay-per-views, and I don't even have a problem with him not showing up every week because I've always said, you know, he's a special character. He only needs to show up on certain dates, but I do have a problem when the ratings are as bad as they are and the show's as bad as it is with him holding the title and fans getting as frustrated as they've been.
From a business standpoint, as much as you want to see Brock, it costs money.
Yep.
You know, he has a contract that says I get paid X amount for X amount of dates. Now, you can either exhaust all those dates ahead of time or you have to give him more money. And yes, WWE got a lot of money for what they're doing with Fox and their new contract with USA as well. But it's more than just, you know, let's take Brock out of Minnesota and bring him to the next Raw. It's not that easy.
No, I know.
It's not that easy.
I understand.
From a business standpoint, from a television creative standpoint, think about it. And I remember seeing this video, I believe it was Kayfabe Commentaries. Kevin Nash explained how Nitro and Thunder did not work because you had a 3-hour Nitro and then a 2-hour Thunder, and you're booking it. It's too hard to stay consistent because you got all these spinning wheels going. It's the same thing here. Yes, I know Raw has their roster, SmackDown has their roster, so that's one way of deviating it. But again, one week you have Kevin Owens, the next week you don't.
Mm-hmm.
He's out with knee injuries. One week you have Roman Reigns, the next week you don't because he's fighting leukemia. One week you have Braun Strowman, the next week you don't because he has elbow surgery. It's much harder than you think.
I'm not saying it's not.
I can book from now until Survivor Series with Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch, and Ronda Rousey. But as soon as one of them gets hurt, and look, we already saw it with Becky Lynch getting concussed and has a broken face, things change almost instantly.
Mm-hmm.
So what do?
Well, that's why they have a creative team.
Not only that, you have outside things that happen. The death of George Bush, with the show being in Houston. Vince rewrote Raw to have more of a happy vibe to it. So you did see things like Finn Balor looking strong. You saw things like Lucha House Party and getting the Lucha House rules because the crowd loved it. You see Becky Lynch and Sasha Banks promoting the tag team division.
That was a cringeworthy. That was probably one of the worst segments in the last month. That was a terrible segment.
I mean, I tweeted to Alexa Bliss this week on our Twitter at SCPB Podcast because she's asking questions about the new Q&A segment between Ronda Rousey and Nia Jax. So they're doing a press conference, and she's asking for questions, and I used the hashtag Ask Alexa. So I said, I have a 2-part question. Question 1, why are we doing this again? And question 2, can we just skip it? So thanks to those that liked it, by the way.
Absolutely just proves my point from earlier. So you mean to tell me next week they're going to double down on that cringeworthy segment and present it again with different people?
With different people. At least Ronda is somewhat of a better promo than...
I'm already aggravated. I already don't want to watch Raw Monday. I'm at a loss for words.
Well, we'll see what the ratings look like in the months, weeks, and days to come. Let us know what you think. Should WWE be concerned about the ratings? Yes or no? Comment below and go to our Twitter page at SCPB Podcast. Tweet at us there. Make sure you subscribe. Hit the bell for notifications as we're trying to get to 1,000 YouTube subscribers before the Royal Rumble. And if you're listening on your favorite podcast provider, make sure you subscribe, you review, and you share it with all your friends so that more people listen to the Squared Circle Psychobabble.
Higher or lower? The rating this upcoming week.
Higher.
Let us know what you think. Higher or lower? I'm gonna say it's lower.
Lower?
Yep.
What's the Monday night game this week?
Oof. I don't know off the top of my head.
The Monday night game, I know it's not like a division rivalry game like Philadelphia and Washington. I can't remember now what the Monday night game is. I think the Saints are playing, which might...
Woo!
If the Saints are playing, that's going to be tough.
Yeah.
If the Saints are playing, I think, but I'm not 100% sure on that. I'll have to look at after we're done recording. So, again, for Ralph Valenti, my name is Michael Valenti. Thank you for listening to the Squared Circle Psychobabble.